Welcome, welcome. My name is Alicia Bunton, and I am the Director of Community Affairs at Illinois Tech. We are so very pleased to be in partnership with the Chicago Southside Film Festival, Hampton House, and Muhammad Law. We are thrilled to be in conversation with Mother Akua and Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., as well as Attorney Muhammad. So we ask that you sit back and enjoy the conversation that precedes the film. So, my very first question is for you, Mother Akua. Black revolutionary politics was central to the party. Can you explain to our audience what is it?
It got real muddled. I didn't hear. Now I've lost you and Attorney Khaliyq.
All right, can you hear me now?
And me, I'm gone.
Uh-oh.
Attorney is back.
All right, can you hear me now?
Well, it's kind of muddled. The question, the last part of it.
Okay, the last part of the question is, can you tell us what Black revolutionary politics was? What it is?
What is Black revolutionary politics?
Yes.
Let me say this: the Black Panther Party, in itself, had a political line. We believed in dialectical materialism. We believed in socialism. We were clear that the United States government represented exploitive, capitalistic, imperialistic government, and that Black people existed as colonies inside the borders of the United States. So we took readings from many revolutionaries worldwide. We say that we, the children of Malcolm X, we studied Nkrumah. Our Red Book by Chairman Mao Zedong was like our Bible. We studied Franz Fanon. We studied Lenin. We studied Marx, all of that. And it was an ongoing process. You didn't come into the party as a revolutionary, but after going through 6 weeks of political education, theory, wedding with practice, serving in the party survival program, then you could say you're a revolutionary member of the Black Panther Party.
Okay, thank you. There are a lot of perceptions and then misperceptions as well concerning the Black Panther Party. Can you separate myth from reality for our audience?
Well, there were a lot of myths, and a lot of people in different areas heard that the Black Panther Party, to join, you had to kill a white person. The Black Panther Party was represented as a gang because during the time the United States government carried out by then State's Attorney Edward V. Hanrahan at the behest of then Mayor Daley, this war on gangs, the Red Squad, all of these things, part of the COINTELPRO program that was shown earlier, that was put in place by the federal government to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah, anybody that could unify the young people. And Chairman Fred was the person that represented this threat. The Black Panther Party was deemed the number one threat to the internal security of this country by then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover. One thing that wasn't a myth, and the people began to see as they participated in our what we call survival programs, like the Breakfast for Children program. The media would paint the party as this gang, under the war on gangs that the country had orchestrated. And the people would come and participate, the mamas and the daddies would come and participate in the survival program, particularly the Breakfast for Children program, because they heard about these these Black Panthers who they saw in the news being called terrorists, and they would come and see that the place was clean, their children were being fed well, and also the minds of the children were being fed, fed as well. The children would come with the children would come with incidents that happen in the community. Why the pigs beating up my daddy, taking him to jail? Why the pigs beating up my brother, my cousin, my auntie? All of these things. And we would be honest with the children. We would tell them that we serve and protect on the side of the pig car had nothing to do with serving and protecting the interests of the community, of the people, but serving and protecting the interests of the state against the interests of the people. And the survival programs were based around 10 points. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. All of those things that people should have a right to. Nothing ridiculous or crazy. And the government did everything to stop it, to malign it, to shade it as a bad group of people, and that the people would come and see how the children were treated. And the mamas and the daddies began to work in the breakfast program. And even would say that sometimes the pigs would ask the mothers at the 35th Street breakfast program, what do you think about capitalism? The parents would say, I don't know nothing about that. What do you think about socialism? I don't know nothing about that. And the pigs was telling, well, this is a socialist program, meeting people's needs and serving the children. And the parents would respond back, I know one thing, if you mess with this program, you got more than just the Panthers to deal with. Join and support.
Yeah, I totally understand that. When you meet people's needs, that's what's central. That's what's key, without any type of ideology or politicization of it.
Well, let me interject too. The political aspect has to happen. Otherwise, it becomes a charity. The Black Panther Party was not a didn't set up charities in the community. What we did was show the people, this was in a period when people would say, it was common for people to say, you can't fight City Hall. The white man not going to let you do this, that, and the third. And the Panthers began to teach the people, in the words of Minister Huey P. Newton, founder of the party, that people learn through observation and participation. For example, the parents began to work in the breakfast program because this was something that studies had been commissioned, big grants have been given to different organizations to study why children weren't learning. And the parents began to work in the program because this wasn't an impossible thing for them to do. And they began to take over many of the breakfast sites that the Panthers had set up all over, not just in Chicago, but all over the country.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. We know that telling the story is very important, but I would also add to that, it's just as important to know who the storyteller is to make sure that the story is accurate. We know that the film is directed and produced by Shaka King, and he wrote this with Will Burson, and it's based on a story by the Lucas brothers. How did you cross paths with the Lucas brothers, and just how accurate is the
film? Chairman, you want to take that? And how do I mute my mute?
I'm having some horrible background. A lot of static on my end also. Is the static real bad on y'all end?
Yes.
Okay.
Chairman, it's actually on your end. I don't know if one of your wires is frayed.
I'm a real bad static. Okay. All right. Okay, forgive. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hear me.
Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes. This there have been a number of different attempts in regards to
I'm sorry, Chair.
Story of Chairman Fred Hampton, whether it be through books, movies, what have you.
Chair,
I spoke a number of
you're
different.
coming across very garbled and distorted. Mother Akua, is there any way that you can answer this question while Chair is getting his audio
Yeah.
straightened
Repeat the question, please.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The question is, how did you cross paths with the Lucas brothers, the writers initially, and then how did you cross paths with everybody else who was instrumental in bringing the story to the screen?
Well, the script had pretty much been written, to tell you the truth. They had a number of different scripts that had been written for this application, and the film was done in Cleveland. Was it
Yes.
Cleveland?
Yes.
Cleveland, Ohio, not in Chicago. So the Chairman Fred Jr. and the board, they took a little ride up there, and people was not coming, without our input. Chairman had met Ryan Coogler at years ago at a flea market in Oakland. It was one of the biggest flea market everybody goes to out there, and they had some discussion. But after Chairman Fred and the Panther Cubs and the community said, "Wait a minute, y'all can't do nothing about Chairman Fred without Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. or Mother Akua Njeri participating in it, else it can't happen." So that was pretty much the scenario, and we made numerous trips. Chairman gazillion more trips than I did up there. I mean, I think he lived up there for a while. And case 24/7. And also, we brought our attorney, Khaliyq Muhammad, asked him to come up too. So that's how I got hammered out. And there was numerous struggles, discussions, debates, because most people got a preconceived notion of what the Black Panther Party is, what it was, and the ideology and the work that they did. And it oftentimes fits into their comfort level of where they are, where they were at that time, so on and so forth, and what they wanted it to be. So we were able to breathe some truth and win most of the battles, but not all of them. And we ended up with I think, a magnificent project. In addition, I want to say that Ryan and Zenzi and Charles and Shaka, all of them, and Dominique and Daniel, the brother that played Chairman Fred. And they were all came to the Hampton House. At first, it was some struggle about whether or not they could come, but because they don't want you to meet the actors or the people behind the scenes, so on and so forth. But we insisted on it. It wasn't going to go no further unless we did. So they came to the Hampton House, and we met for about 7 hours, back and forth. And Chairman went around the table, asked everybody, "Well, why you want to do this film?" And he asked them, and each of them gave some of their background information. And one thing Daniel said, he said, "I wasn't auditioning when I spoke to them. I was talking to them as a Black man." And I saw that, I felt that, from his story that he had. And I even hugged him and said, "I ain't worried about you. You got this." And I knew that he had it. He had this heavy accent, but somehow I knew he was a strong actor. He could do any accent that he wanted, any, you know what I'm saying, voice.
Right.
I just had that much confidence in him. And then Dominique talks about sometime the sister that played Deborah Johnson. She said, I gave her a hard time. And
did you?
Oh, yeah. You gonna play me?
So how did you school her?
I hugged her and I said, well, I had to give you a hard time. So it's cool, And I told her later, I said, you even got my side eye down pat. I kind of look at people when they talking crazy or whatever. So it was really a good meeting, but also the highlight of that meeting to me was when Chairman asked one of them to Google the worst and find the worst neighborhood in Chicago. So it came up a community in K-Town where 11 people had just got shot and killed. This was 1 or 2 in the morning. And so Daniel, Dominique, and Ryan, they went over there, and they talked to the people and everything. I said, okay, all right. And that was very important that they relate to the streets that Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. and Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. work in politicizing, whether with survival programs, whether it's politicizing and educating the people. So that was a big, huge plus. You know what I'm saying? So after that, it became a dream team made at the Hampton House.
Wow, that's wonderful, wonderful. The film is quite powerful. Let me just start off by saying that. And it masterfully depicts Fred as a very intense and charismatic individual, like 100% committed to radical change and community uplift. So like we know that Chairman Fred, but can you tell us about the man that you met and fell in love with? Who was he?
He was the man that I first saw on television, the Ronnie Barrett show. And the Panthers were on there. Chairman Fred was talking about the survival programs that the party was doing. And hour-long program, the Panthers were going to be on for the first 30 minutes. Then another section of another group of people were going to be on. So after the commercial break, Chairman Fred is still talking. He said, I'm not through talking to my people. He's still writing down what they're doing. They're feeding over 3,000 children a week at breakfast program, just before any school free breakfast or free lunch. I had seen a paper, somebody gave me a flyer saying the Black Panthers are here, and it's a black and white. Panthers seem to be walking across the page. And then the sociology department at Wright City College, where I was learning to hone my skills as a bid whist player in the cafeteria, they happened to bring Chairman Fred and the Panthers up there to speak. And of course, none of my crew is going with me to hear them. They still gonna play cards, whatever.
Right.
So I was in there late, and Chairman Fred said in Wright City College had a small group of Black people there. And I was a member of the Black Student Union. And Chairman Fred talked about the survival programs, the work they're doing, things that are going all through the country that the Panthers are doing. And so at the end of his presentation, he asked all the white people to leave. And the white people said, well, we all work together. And Chairman Fred said, well, we're going to have a crying session for y'all later on. But right now, I'm going to talk to my brothers and sisters. So all the white people got put out. They locked the doors. And he started talking about us, the Black people. He said, y'all sitting here arguing about whether white people can join the Black Student Union, because if you have a school organization, you can't exclude anybody. Mm-hmm. And my position had been that you make them so comfortable, like we do when we want a table in the lunchroom, a bunch of Black people sit at the table and then they get up and leave. But we had to include them, leave. We couldn't close them out of Black Student Union. Y'all worried about that, like that's the world crisis or something. And we feeding these children. We don't have nothing. We get donations from stores, from different people, wherever there's space. We set up the breakfast, whether it's a community center, whether it's a church basement, whatever. We're going to feed the children, because everybody knows that children can't learn on an empty stomach. So at the time, I thought echo.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought I was this bad poet writer, you know what I'm saying? And I had brought my little poetry book. I was going to razzle dazzle Chairman, how smart I was, yeah. And so after the Q&A, I said, excuse me, Brother Chairman, what do you think about poetry? And he said, well, I'm Minister of Culture. Emory Douglas, we're clear, the Black Panther Party is clear that any art has to reflect the needs and aspiration of the people. And if it ain't about that, we ain't with it. So I hid my little poetry book behind my back and said, me either, brother. So he never saw my poetry. You're talking about me, because art is subjective, you know, unless you have a political line. I didn't have a political line. I didn't have the political understanding. I hadn't studied the Black Panther newspaper or gone to political education 3 times a week for a minimum of 2 hours a day after going to work and school. So I knew I was some bullshit that I had. You know what I'm saying? Talking about from the me perspective. You know what I'm saying? So the rest is history and working. Say I'm gonna go by that little political education class, and then I had took my literature book over there with me because I was gonna cram for a test. You know, I hadn't studied, been writing poetry in the class, really, to tell you the truth, and had my little English literature book. And this guy that was teaching the class came over to me and singled me out because I was late anyway. And he started flipping the pages in the book, and he said, "What you learned in school today?" I was humiliated. I hadn't learned nothing but, you know, some few tricks and big whiz. So he said, "That's why we're going to shut down all of these schools. They're not teaching our people nothing." And he walked away from me. I said, "Them Negroes is crazy. I am not going back over there." Well, I did go back, and you do a little work, you do a little more work, and the more work you do, the more you see needs to be done. And the more you become politicized and committed to making self-determination power to the people of reality.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I have another question for you. In the film, we see you, or your character. We see you reading a poem that juxtaposes motherhood, because you're very heavy with child, contemporary society, and then, the fight with the accompanying violence. Did that really happen in real life? Did you really write a poem like that?
No.
Or was that Hollywood?
That's Hollywood. Okay. And the skill of Dominique Fishback. When I met Chairman Fred, I stopped writing.
Really?
Yeah, because I had tons of, me poetry. You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand what subjective meant, but I learned what subjective meant, and not from the point of view of oppressed, colonized people who were fighting for something they had never experienced, and that's freedom and self-determination. So I had a whole different worldview, and my mother often told me that she wasn't so disappointed that I joined the Black Panther Party. She was more disappointed with all the work she put in, taking me to a lady that made her own hair grease to get my hair straight and pressed, that I got it nappy again. So that really kind of impacted my mother quite a bit. Rest in peace.
Okay. I cannot begin to imagine the trauma that you lived on December 4th, 1969, and relived. Can you share with us what has been your healing process?
This work. I say all the time, the honor and privilege to be a member of the Black Panther Party. Is an honor and a privilege today to be on the advisory board of the Black Panther Party Cubs, the organization that is continuing to carry the legacy. They say they're the grandchildren of Garvey, the offspring of Malcolm, and cubs of the Black Panthers. And they're carrying and fighting to defend and uphold this legacy wherever it's being challenged, wherever it's being maligned, wherever it's being, twisted, if you will. So my, my strength comes from the ability to continue to fight back against this oppressive system. And I wouldn't trade it for anything at the world. I complain sometimes and say I'm tired, I'm gonna retire, but let's just talk. I love this work. It's never done. It's always some new work to do, but it's such an honor to fight in your own interest for control over your own Black lives. And let me add this too. The federal government even said that what they call black on black crime, which is white on black crime, was at an all-time low during the 60s when people were actually involved in fighting in their own interests.
That's powerful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Now, a couple of seconds ago, I asked you who was Fred, besides the, portrait that we see in the movie or that we've dreamed up, and you pretty much said that he was that guy. He was always intense and straightforward. So I want to flip the question and ask, who was Deborah Johnson? And then who is Akua Njeri?
Deborah Johnson was somebody that graduated from high school, didn't really want to go to college, but went to City College, worked a part-time job in a grocery store, and heard about the Black Panthers, was impressed with them taking over classrooms, demanding an education for our people that teaches us our true history and role in present-day society. And they were taking over classrooms, and they were, booting the teachers off the podium and carrying on. And I said, oh, okay, this sounds really good. And then when I saw Chairman Fred on the television and his commitment to freedom of our people, and it was so sincere. Anybody that has seen Chairman Fred or heard him speak, they say, Chairman really about this business. He ain't just doing sound bites or learning how to talk good and move the crowd. He really, he sleeps and drinks this. And it was so apparent, when you met him. And I was a person that was going to do a little work with the party, and I immersed everything into working with the party. I became a member of the finance committee under the leadership of Lieutenant Finance Cadre. Under the leadership of Robert Sankey, and we would go out to different clubs. At that time, it was a lot of Black clubs in the south and west side of Chicago, jazz, blues, R&B, soul, all of that. Any kind of Black music you could think about, it was a club that catered to that and had that, and DJs that catered to that and had that. And we would go to these different clubs and we would change the words to the song around, what the party was doing, And then I had the responsibility of going to talk to entertainers that came in town to get them to support the survival programs that the Panthers put in place, again, all over the country. And one thing that I remember very well is when I went to meet this comedian, Nipsey Russell.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was performing at the Palmer House downtown. And so I went to talk to him, and we talked for hours and everything. So I asked him for a donation. He said, I'm not trying to get nobody out of jail or help nobody in prison. I said, well, look, you could donate it. You could write on the memo of the check what you want to give it to. It'll go to that. So he said, I believe that these children should be fed, before they go to school in the morning. I can support that. So he wrote out a nice size check to go to the, and he indicated Breakfast for Children program on the check. And that's the kind of work that I did. And to the point that I got put out the house, I lost my job, and dropped out of school. But it was nothing more important than serving the people and participating in the programs and going to whatever events, that took place that we were responsible for. So that was Deborah Johnson. I didn't become Akua Njeri way later, after the Black Panther Party. but I still used my keep my name. I didn't change it by the government because I think my mother went through a lot of labor pains to figure out that name, and she had a right to. That she went through 9 months. I was going to be Annette, but she went to see this white lady in this movie, Deborah Kerr, and that's how I became Deborah.
Oh, okay. Okay. If you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, to your 12-year-old self, what would you say? What advice would you give you?
Nothing.
Really?
I think that you have to experience and go through certain things to be who you are. You know, if I had a magic wand and nobody could have been murdered and political prisoners couldn't be locked up, good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Those things were necessary. We were fighting against a terroristic, oppressive government. So they was not going to. We were not going to get our freedom by singing "Kumbaya" or voting in people in our interests and getting government grants and funds, to fight our fight. That's not what we were about. So, but in all honesty, if it's any way, nobody could have been murdered, assassinated, run out the country. If there couldn't be political prisoners, that's the magic wand I would wave. But that's some abstract, non-reality that only exists in the mind of a child.
Okay. So like the saying goes, you wouldn't take nothing for your journey now. It has truly made you the woman that you are. All right.
Yeah.
No changes, no revisions. All right. I want to shift now a little bit to Chairman Fred Jr. What is it like being the son of Fred Hampton? And then how do you differentiate yourself from your father?
I've often said I feel fortunate to have fallen from the tree of two freedom fighters, that of Chairman Fred Hampton and also of Akua Njeri, formerly known as Deborah Johnson. As she had stated earlier, not only in our political organizers, but in our life, every basic day-to-day situation, we relate to philosophical tools known as dialectical materialism. Basically, in layman's terms, we take into account common sense, logic, past history, and I'm saying it to say that we recognize history for what it is. What happened 2 minutes ago, we expected it was history. Mm-hmm. I humble myself, as we say, not to walk in the footsteps, but the Panther Paul steps of such forces, not only Chairman Fred Akua Njeri with the Black Panther Party. The moves that organization had made, revolutionary moves. I attempt when I speak about Black Panther Party, especially disrespect generation. I tend to put it in context. I try to talk, accentuate certain points that there were no cell phones. So to really appreciate the dynamics about when you talk about the free breakfast program, feeding minimum 3,500 children a week. I attempt to put it in its context of location. In Chicago, being Chairman Fred who authored the Rainbow Coalition, and the city which was and remains to be the top segregated city in the country, if not outside of the country. So we can't. These are revolutionary moves. So I hold myself with that. And one thing, I won't say this the wrong way, but also I got to give the state credit. Their continuous attacks. It helps, keep me on who I am. Because it's not. If you talk about the new moves the Black Panther Party did, we don't talk about it in an abstract, nostalgic sort of sense. I am fortunate and unfortunate to grow up in a city and be based in a location where not much has changed, including the names. You have some of the same issues. Some of the political prisoners we're dealing with, the cases of Mumia Abu Jamal, Jerry Dingadunick, and Sunday Adekoli. This goes on and on. as well as on the other side of the spectrum, of the ruling representatives of the ruling class. I've been placed in the infamous Menard, in Southern Illinois. The same Menard, I was there in 1999. The same Menard in which Chairman Fred himself was placed in 1959. I've been sentenced by judges and some of the same direct police officers and law enforcement, not just limited to their offspring or their relatives, but some of the exact same individuals. In fact, we exposed how one of the major players that was involved in the surveillance and gathering the different law enforcement agencies together to give me the trumped up case, which I subsequently served 9 years for, was the same infamous Sergeant Joseph P. Grubezek. And lo and behold, when we go through old Black Panther Party newspapers, this is the same Joseph P. Grubezek who was involved in the infamous Legion of Justice, the Red Squad with Mayor David. So the state helps remind me that this is ongoing, that this is ever developing, that it's not stagnant, that it's not just back, back to the 1960 situation, just because the physical death of a former director of the FBI, Jacob Hoover,
right?
It has not stopped there. So I'm constantly kept on track by the people as well as by the pigs.
Wow. Thank you. I was not aware of the same cast of characters up to the same shadiness. Thank you for sharing that. How are you building your legacy?
Work. As we speak, literally as we speak now, I'm in Seattle, Washington, get some updates with our what we refer to as the present day Rainbow Coalition, touching down with the indigenous community, getting updates on some of the campaigns. We work with the campaigns of Free Mumia Abu Jamal, Linda Pelletier, Orlando Wild, and others. Our programs, such as the Triple C's, Children, Community, and Cubs, which is done in the spirit of Black Panther Party Free Breakfast Program. Communication, information outlets, such as the Free Amar Radio, we do every Wednesday, hosted by myself and Lady of Rage, which is done in the spirit of the Black Panther Party newspaper. We are fortunate to be able to convene and hold a lot of these programs in the same exact location which Chairman Fred himself grew up in, 804 South 17th Avenue, Maywood, Illinois, the same, that community anchor, again, which Chairman Fred was there, same place that is the same location, which is literally several feet away from he was given the infamous ice cream truck robbery case. He went to elementary school right across the street. So, it's a phenomenal feeling to be, to be in the home, and through the bad times and good times, through whether we've been there with no water, no heat, or literally up under the gun, under attack when we have our survival programs, up under deadlines, as Brother Attorney Khaliyq Muhammad can attest to. There were a foreclosure date set where the banks were set to take it home, and to be up under that pressure, So, and also to be able to constantly, continuously learn from his legacy, to be in a situation where we came across that famous brown corduroy blazer. He was known, and they find that downstairs in the basement. Then they put that
Wow.
put that in his widow's, his widow, his comrade, my mother comrade, put that in her hands, and and when she hadn't seen 50 years, and to be able to, because the deal is, I've been saying on many occasions, she has done quote unquote double duty. Her husband, a comrade, was in Menard in 1969. Her son, a comrade, was in Menard in 1999, and so so we honored, to be able to draw that concrete correlation, not just with the attacks, but with the resistance, So it's our work, our ongoing work with our programs. We say it's a tough act to follow the Black Panther Party. So we attempt to again not walk in their footsteps, but their Panther Paul steps.
So you alluded to Hampton House without actually naming Hampton House. So I want to give you another 3 minutes or so to really talk about Hampton House and to share with our audience what the programs are and then how they could be involved.
Right on. Sometimes exactly say word of word because it's second nature. Because we not only I stay there. I mean, we live there. It's a part of our work. It's not 9 to 5. Our programs, such as the Triple C, though technically it's convenient, officially every Saturday, the free food and free clothes right in front of the home. However, you can come by 3 o'clock in the morning, and the people themselves will be, literally picking up clothes, picking up food supplies, as well as dropping off clothes and dropping off food in front of the Hampton House. We respond to conditions. In response to the vortex, the record low, freezing cold temperatures.
Right.
Chicago. Hampton House opened its door. Many people refer to Chicago as Siberia at that time, how cold it was. They called it Siberia. We immediate response, we convened right there. We opened the Hampton House doors to become a warming center. With people. The only prerequisite for that was that they were cold. We continuously meet the needs and just the needs and aspirations of the people. And it's not just limited to that structure, to that edifice. In fact, we say it's bigger than the building, more significant than the structure. The location right next door to it, we have the Hampton House Community Garden, the State Hampton House Community Garden. People come and get vegetation, no questions asked. Mind you, months prior to the State Hampton House Community Garden being there, there was a documented at least between 7 and 9 overdoses right there in that same location. We have changed all of that. The park down the street, the people down known as Chairman Fred Hampton Park. We have the water gun battles, which with the youth. We politicize the youth. We get the people involved in the programs. So it's not it's the Black Panther Party. These are not programs for charity, but get people involved, in also the determination. And then at the Hampton House, the people are bringing back photographs, information. People involved. I talk about young brother who does a painting for a living. When his mother seen him on social media painting inside the Hampton House, opened the door for a conversation that she said they should have been had. She said, "You in that house?" He said, "No, I don't." And then they opened the door for it. So these are all of, for lack of better terms, continuous war stories that that are birthed and are carried, right there outside, inside and outside the Hampton House.
Yeah. Thank you. Mother Akua, did you want to add anything to that? I see you were nodding your head. Was there anything you wanted to? Okay.
He said it all.
I'll be remiss if I don't put this out there also, or do say this also. February 17th, we reached a milestone by a certain amount of resources to to take care of certain things at the Hampton House. However, the people's position was open the GoFundMe back up so we can be able to support the ongoing campaigns at the Hampton House. So that's at GoFundMe.com/Save the Hampton House, and they can also go to Cash App $Save the Hampton House to not only to save and maintain the ongoing programs at the Hampton House.
Okay, I want you to excuse me. I want you to repeat that a little slower so that folks at home can jot down this information.
Right on. GoFundMe.com/Save the Hampton House 51. GoFundMe.com/Save the Hampton House 51. And also Cash App $Save the Hampton House.
Thank you. Attorney Muhammad, I know you thought that we forgot about you, but we did not. We did not. Can you share with us how you met the family and what your role is?
Sure. Initially, I met Chairman Fred Jr. Back in 2006, and it was a convention that I was a part of. I was on the organizing committee, and Chairman, he ended up coming with Dead Prez. I believe Dead Prez was the musical guest. While they were performing, we had an opportunity to get introduced, and it was a brief conversation. It didn't last more than 3 minutes. He was busy engaging the crowd, and a lot of people around did not realize who he was. After I got finished speaking to him, they were asking, and I told them that that's Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. And it was at a period where I had just moved to Chicago. So, I really have to take some time to thank my parents, Shaya and Nakiba Muhammad, for really introducing me to who the Black Panther Party were to a certain degree. They would readily, inform us and put us in positions where we could, just learn about the culture, just learn about the civil rights movement, learn about so many engaging, historical figures in our community. And when I was young, I had the opportunity to watch a number of different documentaries, and that's where I was introduced to Chairman Fred Hampton. And in 2017, I believe it was, I was working as an attorney. I got a call from Chairman Fred Jr. And he just called me on my personal line. I picked up the phone. He said, "Hey, this is Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Do you know who I am?" And I told him yes. He asked me to come by the Hampton House, and I came down by the Hampton House the next day. And immediately when I went into the Hampton House and I saw all the images, and I got a chance to engage with him, he was certainly wanting to know more about me and the things that I did. And it was just a real genuine conversation. I was able to just tell him a lot about my educational journey. It was at that time he became aware that I attended IIT. I got a master's degree in intellectual property management. That was the first year that it was started. I was one of the first 5 people to graduate from this program of IP managers. And a program like that didn't exist in the United States. And, he was taken aback by it. He was, really impressed. I told him about my experiences, at Chicago College of Law and some of the other projects that I had been doing. But, initially he called me because they needed help. It wasn't about the film. We hadn't even begun those conversations. This was years ago. And, through working with them over the course of, maybe a year, we literally spoke to, everyone that you can think of. With respect to studios, with respect to streaming organizations, with respect to authors, publishers that really wanted to seize the time. And, they were trying to take advantage of the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Chairman Fred Hampton. And we wanted to make sure that we were positioned appropriately. So it was all about, coming together and coming up with some strategy so that way we could really leverage the time. There were certain things that, I just had to learn simply. I just sat back and listened, to these amazing clients of mine, to several members of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. I got schooled, and I continue to get schooled. It's so much information, so many amazing people, so many amazing stories. And I just immersed myself in it, for a period of time, because one truly has to understand where they're coming from, right, to be in a position to represent them. And that was important to me. And I remember, telling Chairman Fred Jr., just about my process. And he said, don't even worry about, explaining it. I've been sitting back witnessing, just watching what you're doing. And, I really had to just take it all in. Eventually, we certainly were introduced to, Ryan Coogler and Charles King and, Shaka King. And, they made several trips back and forth. I was very active in the project, communicating with them. I would meet with them when they came in town, or, we went out to Cleveland a couple of times. I was able to accompany Chairman and Mother Akua once, and then a follow-up trip with Chairman Fred as well. We were active, and we wanted to make sure that people understood the amount of influence that they deserve to have with this project. This is their story. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't recognize that. A lot of people want to go about writing stories, and they don't fact check those stories. So it was important to us to make sure that people understood that first and foremost, a project would not proceed unless they were there. They would need to be on set. And, we were turned down by so many people, so many studios that and, they would look at me and they would shake their heads and say that this is never the case. And I would tell them that it's going to be a case, that this was our demand. And, a lot of deals, went undone, and we were fine with that. It was all about the integrity of the project for us. That was of utmost importance, especially for me, never having formally met, Chairman Fred, and really just trying to understand who he was. I would tell them that, hey, I'm, in a position where I'm with Mother Akua and Chairman Fred Jr. Almost on a daily basis at that time. And, I didn't feel comfortable, speaking alone about the different aspects of this story that needed to be told. So how could they? And, it's amazing what we've been able to accomplish. It's been a lot of sleepless nights. Certainly, Chairman Mother Akua can attest to that with respect to the House, saving the House. With respect to my role, I play whatever role I need to play within that given situation. Because there are a lot of different roles that are needed. And there are a lot of different roles that, that people out here listening to this conversation that they have to feel in their own communities, because that's the only way that we're going to make the type of progress that needs to be made.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to give the three of you an opportunity to share anything else that you would like to do. What would you like to leave our audience with? It's 5:58 and we're going to go to 6:05. Since we started at 6:05, we're really going to keep this 1 hour tight. So I'll give each of you a minute and a half apiece. Your parting words. What would you like to leave our viewing audience with? And I will defer automatically to my elder, Mother Akua.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity, and Attorney Khaliyq for hooking it up. And the one thing that I want people not to go away from seeing this movie or seeing us giving some inside information about what happened then, what's happening now, you can go Google or whatever search engine and see Black Panther Party Cubs. See what they're doing. You could listen to the radio show and get a political education. Go to the website, get some information, and see at what level you can participate. Become an active person in the fight for liberation. Not coming, you're going to get everybody straight and run the show, but become an active participant in the struggle for self-determination for respective communities on their own terms. And that's what I would hope people would take away from this program.
Thank you. Chairman?
Right on. First and foremost, we're honored and humbled to be here. I want to say, do not wait for the Black Panther Party Cubs to become what we refer to as a safe subjects. In other words, I used the analogy where the Wheaties cereal had placed Muhammad Ali on the front of the Wheaties box, I think in the late 80s. He was still physically alive. And said, why would you put him on there now? The representative of Wheaties said, we're doing it now because he's safe to talk about. The Black Panther Party Cubs, our position is that we serve hot food and we serve hot politics.
Yes.
It's intense right now. We have the African Anti-Terrorism Bill, which we will be tweaking, we'll be updating. It's been existing for about 2 decades. The case of Mumia Abu Jamal is code red. The case of Emmanuel Jibin Alameen, for instance, H.R. Brown, is code red. So the case of political prisoners, we have to address these issues. And again, not wait to become a safe subject to speak about. We're pushing forward the campaign of Free Jerry Odinga Dunnigan. The C numbers, your brothers, sisters down the street, our position, our call is free them all. Come to support the work at the Hampton House, 804 South 17th Avenue, Maywood, Illinois, 60153. St. Hampton House Community Garden. We're going to be again breaking ground this upcoming Saturday, April 3rd. We'll be out there. The programs are right there. Not hard to find. You know what I'm saying? In fact, we say the streets are our office. Our work hours are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, Ministry of People say, without the people, revolution is impossible. Power to the people, free them all.
Power to the people, free them all.
Thank you. Khaliyq?
thank you so much for this opportunity, to come on here and speak with this amazing audience out here. It's always a pleasure, to certainly speak about the work that needs to be done. And I want to use this opportunity to just kind of clear the air with respect to, the film and, some aspect of my involvement within it. Certainly when we finished the film, I received a phone call. I received a phone call from the studio, and Chairman was also on the call, and they said, it's been a long battle. This is the end of the road. There's one thing that needs to be done at this point, and it's with respects to credits. And they said, the producers have created a situation where 6 producers, and the director have added you to the end of this film. They want you on the credits, and they have you down as an IP strategist. They want you to be recognized on this film. And, it really struck home. But myself, I knew that, attorneys typically aren't included in the film credits, and the conversation continued. And they said, due to longstanding precedent, it wasn't allowed. But, I just want to, say that the response after that, Chairman Fred, he was on the phone, and he said, brother attorney, is that all right? Is that all right that we continue like that? And I told him, I said, hey, we have bigger battles ahead of us. And I want to leave the audience with that. Certainly there are some big battles that we all have to fight. Sometimes, we don't get recognition on a particular project, but at the same time, the people that matter, they know. And it's all about doing the work regardless of who's watching.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Excuse me. Mother Akua, I'm not sure if you were watching the comments, but I will share with you, the audience has mad love for you. They love the fact that you are so lovely, funny, and charismatic, and it just keeps going on. So I just wanted to make sure that we love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are very welcome. And again, thank you, Attorney Muhammad. Thank you, family. Thank you, Southside Film Festival. Thank you to everyone else who had a role in making this evening possible. It is 6:04, and as I mentioned, the film will start at 6:05. So you've got a minute to grab something to drink, get your popcorn, your chips, or you're going to be healthy, grab an apple or an orange. Do that, but the movie will start momentarily.
Right on.
Right on.
Right on.